Tell you my password so you can
call this meeting to order. And we will start with the pledge. Supervisor Simmons.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's taking its time.
We'll go to call of the public. Call of the public is held for the public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email to publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read aloud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Do we have any public comments?
Good morning. Yes, we do have one. It's concerning an agenda item ZF3, which is Major Amendment Case Number 2307. It comes from Tracy Pavir. She says, please don't let this pass. I am against it because it will bring unsavory business and persons to a housing area and a school area. Too many of our children are being kidnapped now, and to bring this to a very rural area is a shame. Ms. Catherine can't tell us if there's to be hazardous materials going to be made or brought here. She has no plan that we can live comfortably with. When asked, she shuts down and won't tell us the companies projected to be brought in. I hope you take my concerns into consideration about case number 2307 and do not pass it.
Thank you very much. Are there any more comments? Any additional comments?
No, they're not.
That's it. Okay. We have two other filings for public. Antonio and Mary Ellen Finch. Do you wish to address that now or later?
Later.
Later. Okay. And Michelle Jones, now or later, as part of the item
On the agenda.
on the agenda. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Any action from the board? Wonderful. Let's go to the presentation for the El Condado Informado.
Bienvenidos al Condado Informado. El día de hoy estaremos visitando al fiduciario público, estaremos platicando con la directora Claudia Ramírez. ¿Y qué más vamos a estar haciendo, Carla?
En este departamento están ayudando a mucha gente en esos momentos donde más lo necesitan. Cuando usted no sabe quién más lo puede ayudar en esos momentos más difíciles, este departamento está ayudando a esa comunidad que más lo necesita. Acompáñenos a aprender más de ellos.
Los veo adentro. Bienvenidos al Condado Informado. El día de hoy vamos a estar platicando con Claudia, que es la directora del fiduciario público, y nos va a estar hablando un poquito de los servicios que ofrecen, algunas cosas que no son muy comúnmente conocidas. Claudia, hola, bienvenida.
Muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos a la oficina del fiduciario público del Condado de Yuma.
Pues muchas gracias por el recibimiento. Ahora, un poquito de los servicios o de lo que hacen aquí. Explícanos un poquito qué es aquello que lo identifica el fiduciario público.
Un fiduciario público es un tutelar de último recurso. Es cuando suele no haber familiares o personas que ya no tienen familiares que puedan encargarse de tomar decisiones por ellos. Son normalmente personas que están incapacitadas y que necesitan que alguien sea su voz. Nosotros somos los que somos, como quien dice, las personas que abogamos por ellos para tomar decisiones médicas de dónde van a residir y necesitan esa ayuda y es cuando nosotros somos llamados. La única manera que podemos nosotros recibir la tutela de alguna persona es por medio de la corte, porque es la que nos da la autoridad para poder tomar decisiones médicas de ellos y poder también tomar acceso a sus finanzas. ningún banco, ningún lugar nos tomaría en serio si no tenemos esos documentos.
Muy bien, sí, es que todas las personas que trabajan aquí con ustedes tienen que tener la responsabilidad, ¿verdad?
Sí, tenemos que tener mucho cuidado con eso.
Sí, sí, me imagino que sí. ¿Y cuántas personas trabajan aquí en este departamento?
En este departamento somos un total de 10 personas trabajando. Ahorita tenemos personas que van y visitan a los clientes, los llevan a citas de doctores. El manejo como si fueran nuestros hijos.
Sí.
Todo lo que haríamos por un bebé, un niño, es lo que hacemos nosotros con las personas.
Y Claudia, ¿alguna otra cosa que se nos olvide, que se nos pase, que quieres que el público del condado de Yuma sepa?
Sí, pues tenemos el otro programa que es el programa de cremaciones indigentes. Son para personas de toda la comunidad que no tienen los recursos para tomar las decisiones fúnebres de sus seres queridos. Es un programa indigente, lo cual es cremación directa. No tenemos servicios ni nada porque los recursos son limitados, pero toda la comunidad puede aplicar.
Pues muchas gracias por esa información tan importante. Muchas gracias por el recibimiento y de parte de todo el condado, gracias por todo lo que hacen por toda la gente de aquí. Así es que,
pues muchísimas gracias por haber venido.
Gracias. Bueno, pues nos vemos afuera. Esa información que Claudia nos dio fue muy informativa. Espero que el público del condado sepa un poquito más de lo que hace aquí este departamento del fiduciario público.
La verdad, yo en esta visita aprendí demasiado y esperamos que ustedes en casa, si miran la necesidad de este servicio, ahora se sientan a gusto de venir a pedir la información. Tienen también la información en la página de internet que les queremos recordar, se puede cambiar en español. Allí hay más información, la página de internet y el número de teléfono. Ahí pueden encontrar más si están interesados en estos servicios, por favor. Y muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos. Hasta la próxima.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to the consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. I will entertain a motion right now for the consent calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the consent calendar with the exception of 11 and 12.
11 and 12. Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We go to,
Do you have the chairman join over the phone? Or?
I believe we do have the chairman on the phone.
wonderful. Item number 11, Public Works. Authorize Public Works Director to purchase 6 fiscal year 2023, 2024 vehicles, 2 Chevy Malibu sedans, and 6 Chevy Equinox XUVs, and 1 GMC Savannah passenger from Chapman Automotive Group for an amount not to exceed $276,300. Mr. Reyes.
I just want to make sure that we've been making a concerted effort to keep our purchases local, and both 11 and 12 are example from that. I think that, yeah, you open 11, I thought you were going to open both of them together.
I've opened them both together.
So it was just a comment. Thank you very much for making the effort to keep some of that money in Yuma County. I know that the third one was out of Peoria, but this too, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge the effort that it's making by the Public Works Department and everybody involved, including the Sheriff's Department, to keep the business local. We like to think that, we like to keep tax money in Yuma County. So thank you very much for the effort. Thank you very much for choosing people that are local, and thanks the dealers for actually making an effort to stay within the boundaries of those regulations that we follow when we purchase vehicles. Thank you.
It's important to us to keep, to support our local community, and we really appreciate your support too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll make an effort to go ahead and approve 11 and 12 as presented.
Do you have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Any nays?
Aye.
Bill will look at me later on saying I didn't ask for opposition, but it was unanimous. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate that. We'll go to planning and zoning agenda. Full legal descriptions of property sites for all rezoning cases are available for public review at the Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. Do we want a full presentation?
Yes.
Okay.
Good
For
morning.
rezoning, Staff will make a full presentation on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion, public hearing, or action by the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. Item number 1, Javier.
Good morning, Vice Chairman Lyons and members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner. Mr. Chairman, staff would like to ask to open also item number 4 in the zoning agenda, along with item number 1. They're together.
Okay, we'll open items number 1 and 4 together.
First, item number 4.
Okay.
Numerical order.
Skipping ahead to item number 4.
Thank you. This is a request to change the land use designation of 2 parcels, the total approximately 126.73 acres in size, from agricultural rural preservation to industrial. This project is located in the Don Valley Welton Planning Area between Avenue 31E and 32E. On the north and south of Union Pacific Railroad in Welton, Arizona. The intent is to accommodate the rezoning of such parcel, 126.73 acres, from rural area 40-acre minimum to heavy industrial, to allow the construction of an inland port. This is the land use map and the city map showing the 2 parcels, parcel 15 and 19, outlined in yellow. Properties are accessed along the east via Avenue 32E, which is an improved road. Land use on the north is agricultural rural preservation and rural residential. Land uses on the west are agricultural rural preservation and industrial, as well as on the south is also the land use is industrial. And to the east, the land use agricultural rural preservation. Those parcels on the northeast of parcel 15 is the next case that I'll be presenting, amendment case 2303. This is the site plan provided by the applicant. Highlighted in yellow is a portion of the plan, and this is just a portion of parcel 15. And on the right, you will see Mayor Amendment Case 2303, which we'll be presenting next. This is an aerial view showing outline in red the subject parcels within the context of the town of Welton and current development. This is a view looking southwest at parcel 19 from the northeast corner. Now looking northwest at parcel 15 from the southeast corner. View looking northeast at parcel 15 from the southwest corner. And this is the north, a view looking northeast at the railroad tracks. Staff received 1 letter in opposition from a resident and 3 letters in support. We also received comments from Welton Mohawk Irrigation Drainage District and Audubon Society. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Mayor Amendment Case 2302 based on the following. The proposed change to industrial is compatible with adjoining land use designations to the west, south, and east. The proposed project will not require public expenditure for infrastructure improvements. The amendment will not have an adverse effect on health or safety of present or future residents. The proposed amendment is consistent with the policies and priorities of the plan. Now we'll present Mayor Amendment Case 2303. Likewise, this is a request to change the land use designation of 3 parcels that total approximately 208.27 gross acres in size, from agricultural rural preservation and business park to industrial, located as well in the Don Valley Welton Planning Area between Avenue 32E and 33E on the north and south sides of Union Pacific Railroad in Welton, Arizona. And like the case before, to accommodate the rezoning of 208.27 acres from rural area 40-acre minimum and light industrial to heavy industrial, to allow the construction of an inland port. This is the vicinity and land use map showing parcels 9, 19, and 10, cross-hatching outline in yellow. Parcels are accessed on the east and south. On the east along Avenue 33E. Land uses on the northern business park, agricultural rural preservation, and to the west is and south agricultural rural preservation as well, and to the east business park. This is the site plan. This is the second part, highlighted in orange. Again, an aerial view outlined in red the subject parcels. within current development in the area. So if you're looking west of the subject parcel 10 from Avenue 33E, you're looking west of subject parcel 19, again from Avenue 33E. You're looking southwest of the subject railroad tracks from the northeast corner. And you're looking northeast of parcel 10 from the southwest corner. Staff received 3 letters in support and comments from Walton Mohawk and the Audubon Society. Again, the Planning Commission recommends approval of Mayor Amendment Case 2303 based on the following. The proposed change to industrial is compatible with adjoining land uses to the west, south, and east. The proposed project will not require public expenditure for infrastructure improvements. The amendment will not have an adverse effect on the health or safety of present or future residents. And number 4, the proposed amendment is consistent with the policies and priorities of the plan. The staff concurs with the Commission's recommendation. Mr. Chairman, that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Javier. At this time, is there any discussion by the board members?
Now, the reason you wanted this item discussed first is because it ties into the first item. The first item is a special use permit that applies to this, some of this project.
Vice Chairman Lyons, Supervisor Reyes, yeah, the two are, Mayor Amendment Case 2302 and 2303 are together. They're part of the same development scheme, so that's why they were presented together.
Okay. You want to get this one done first so you can get to the second one? Is that what you want? Is that what you guys think?
I opened up them together so we can
Them together.
one action item.
Correct.
At this time, I'll open up the public hearing. Do we have anybody that wishes to address the board at this time regarding items number 1 and 4?
Applicants are present.
And the
Vice
applicants are
Chairman.
present. Go ahead, Mr. Kilman.
Vice Chair, Supervisors, thank you for inviting us today. Larry Kilman, 29851 East Mountain View in Welton. So here with me today is, I have my representative from Five Rivers Cattle Feeding, is Hope Luke, General Superintendent, and Alan Boyce of Boyce Land Company. So this is a joint proposal. They were separate landowners, so we made separate applications, but they are one proposal. So what we're proposing is to change this land use designation so that we can hopefully develop our inland railroad port that is described. So this is the first step. If we get approval here, then we would look at moving into zoning and more refining what it is we're proposing to do. But right now, it's rail associated. So with that, we had a proposal that came in, and I was working with GYEDC a year and a half ago. Steel Dynamics came in, and they wanted a railroad site, and they needed power. So we set off then with our plan to try to develop the site, get the land use first, then get the zoning. And now we're working on trying to get power resources in. We're working with Welton Mohawk to try to basically bring enough in to provide a major tenant here. This can be a major project. Literally, we could add $1 billion to the tax rolls if this thing gets built out. We expect that'll take some time. But we have a lot of resources that naturally occur on the site. So the rail line currently takes off that goes, this is what they call the Phoenix line or the Welton line if you're on the other end. Of course, it's shut down and washed out and was taken out in the Amtrak train in 95, whatever. We do believe they're going to rebuild that line. There's monies available in the Infrastructure Act, specifically set aside $760 million. So right now the track is active to the feedlot. So we can come in and we can do, these are basically railroad spurs here that come off on these two parcels that are being looked at today. So, and up to each one of these parcels, we can put at each one of these rail sites up to 30 cars, which is called merchant. So we have the ability here. There's plenty of acreage that we're working with to basically set up some warehousing and stuff. But so this is kind of the overview. So we're here as kind of a first step to get us to the point that we can make this thing marketable and bring in the utilities that we need.
Thank you, Larry. Any questions for Mr. Kilman?
You're working with Welton Mohawk, correct?
Yes.
Okay, to get the utilities, because I know APS is having trouble even providing services to some of the places that they...
Everything is transmission constrained, and the latest or the first upgrades that we believe WAPA will be able to make to BOUS are probably scheduled for 2028. So it may be an amount of time until we can find some capacity. But in talking to Elson last week, ironically, there was 20 megawatts of transmission capacity showed up, I think, between Liberty and Baus. And that would be enough to start us here with a major client.
Oh, good.
But we've been asked to basically pay for that. It's $24,000 a month, and it's a 7-year contract, so it's $2.1 million. So if we want to build this, we have to up front and reserve that capacity. That is the biggest problem. Very good question. So we were given this last week. So is it still available? We don't know, but we're investigating that. But that would be our key, going back to what Steel Dynamics asked for. We can do the land use, we can do the zoning, but if we don't have the power resource, we're not going to build anything right away.
Yeah, okay.
We do have solar planned to do daytime stuff, but we need transmission.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Any additional comments or questions for Larry? Anybody from the, thank you, Mr. Kilman.
Thank you.
Do you have any additional comments from the public? I will close the public hearing then at this time and entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve major amendment case number 2302 and 2303 as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Do we have to do them separate?
Yes,
No.
Mr. Chairman, we need two separate.
Roll call. Oh, we have to do them separate?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Vice Chairman.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I will change it to, I make a motion we approve major amendment 2302 as presented.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And now make a motion that we approve major amendment 2303 as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Barajas.
That public hearing that we had initially covered both of them.
That is, Vice Chairman Lyons, that is correct, Supervisor Reyes.
Item number 2.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Lyons. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting Mayor Amendment Case 2304. This is a request to change the land use designation of 16.82 acres, portion of a parcel that has 40.0 gross acres in size, from urban density residential to regional commercial. The project site is located in the Foothills Planning Area, northeast corner of Foothills Boulevard and North Frontage Road in Yuma, Arizona. And the intent is to accommodate the rezoning of the 16.82 acres from rural area 10-acre minimum to regional, to general commercial to accommodate for a commercial development. This is the land use and vicinity map showing parcel number 5, outlined in a thick black line. The crosshatch area is the portion to be amended. Land uses on the north, east, and south is urban density residential. And also to the south, we got some local commercial land use. And to the northwest, we have regional commercial land use and local commercial to the west. And further south, we got regional commercial. The site plan submitted by the applicant. Area number 1 is the portion to be amended, and area number 2 will remain urban density. This is an aerial view showing the subject parcel outlined in red, and the gray area is the portion to be amended. We have, you can see the residential uses and RV parks to the east. We got vacant properties on the north, storage facility on the west, and I-8 on the south.
Question, the part that's still desert in the red line, that's owned by the state, right, for transportation? That's a transportation easement right there?
Along here, or this parcel here?
No, down along here.
Yeah,
This-
there's a transmission line there, but don't know the ownership.
Okay.
Vice Chairman.
Okay.
This is a view looking northeast of the subject parcel from North Frontage Road. In the same view, looking northeast at ground level. Looking south of the subject parcel, and there's a transmission line right there.
There it is,
Yeah.
okay.
And another view, now looking southeast of the subject parcel from the northwest corner. Staff received 2 comments from within the zoning area and 1 letter in opposition. Received comments from ADOT and Audubon Society. The Planning Commission recommends approval of Mayor Amendment Case 2304 based on the following. The proposed change to regional commercial is compatible with adjoining land use designations to the northwest, west, and south. The proposed project will not require public expenditure for infrastructure improvements. The amendment will not have an adverse effect on the health or safety of present or future residents. And the proposed amendment is consistent with the policies and priorities of the plan. And staff concurs with the Planning Commission recommendation. Mr. Chairman, that concludes staff's presentation on this amendment.
Thank you, Javier. Any additional questions for Javier? Is the applicant present? Okay. Applicant wishes to say anything?
Not present.
Not present? Okay. I'll open it up to public hearing right now. I believe we have one speaker, Mr. Greg Wall.
My name is Greg Wall. I represent Callahan Properties, Sundance RV Resort, which is at 13502 North Frontage Road, adjacent to the parcel in question. Whenever zoning changes are made, such as a major amendment from residential to commercial zoning, the public must look at the worst-case scenario as a possible outcome. The Yuma County claims to not know what the landowner intends to try and build here, yet the county frequently acts as an advisor to the landowners on what can and cannot be built under zoning and permitting regulations. The county holds pre-construction meetings with developers for this purpose. The rezoning of only the land that fronts onto Foothills Boulevard and onto North Frontage Road, and not the full parcel, seems to indicate that there is a known objective on the part of the landowner. We ask, was a meeting held with the landowner with regard to rezoning request? Due to the broad nature of commercial zoning, the public must think about the worst-case scenario, and that would be a 24-hour operation such as a truck stop adjacent to a residential community. I think it goes without saying that all of us in this room would not wish to live next to a truck stop if we had the choice. The proposed rezoning does not adequately take into account quality of life issues such as excessive noise, light, and odors that commonly occur with a truck stop. Yuma County may be negligent in evaluating these quality of life issues by not addressing the impact of a truck stop on the adjacent residential community as part of this rezoning. For example, the density of both diesel and gasoline vapor is heavier than air. Fuel vapors that are heavier than air can travel for great distances along the ground due to localized environmental conditions such as a temperature inversion. The adjacent residential community sits at a grade that is a minimum of 20 feet below the parcel up for rezoning. This elevation difference creates a basin out of the adjacent residential community that all vapors heavier than air will funnel towards. If you vote in favor of this amendment, you will be granting the landowner permission to build a truck stop without having conducted the county's obligation to perform due diligence with regard to the quality of life.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Close the public hearing and bring it back to the board.
Javier, I have a question. If he wants to build a truck stop there, there's still further zoning requirements after we rezone this piece of property, correct?
Vice Chair, Supervisor Pancrazzi, truck stop is one of many permitted uses in the C2. As the previous speaker mentioned, they're working with a worst case scenario. There was a project assessment. There was no mention of a truck stop, but you cannot X out this possibility.
And if they were to decide to put a truck stop there, they would have to meet all the air quality controls and all of the requirements by ADOT and everyone else, correct, and the state?
Vice Chair, Supervisor Pancrazzi, the fact that I know is that they will need to comply with minimum development standards as per code and as per zoning. But as far as the requirement of state requirements, don't know if
there are none.
Well, we don't know what those will be. But they will for sure need to comply with zoning and building safety engineering, flood control, and all of that.
Javier, well, go ahead, Tom.
No, go ahead.
I just had a question on this too. The county's going to have say-so over as far as the development of the site. I mean, as far as, okay, if it is a truck stop. Setbacks away from the RV park, requiring walls or whatever to buffer the sound or deal with any issues that might come about hindering on the RV park or the neighbors to the east.
Yes, Vice Chair, Supervisor Simmons, they will need to comply with buffer and screening. Also, this property is under the Dark Sky Overlay District, so the exterior lighting will be controlled by the Dark Sky Overlay District requirements. They will.
Mr.
I just have a comment. I mean, I tend to always side with the common case scenario in most cases, but there are some things that can't happen unless you have, the zoning to make them happen. And that could also mean other projects that could go in there that are more compatible with the area. I hope that the developer, whomever they may be, understands the concerns that are expressed when there's so much unknowns about it. Normally, when we go through a rezoning process, I like to think people are not speculating with it and they're just making the project more valuable by having the right zoning. This unsettles me a little bit. Not enough to be against it, but it does provide us with pause about what's going to happen in that particular area. And we rely a lot on the Yuma Planning and Zoning Commission to sort of sort these things out and get them to us with a recommendation. I do understand the concern, and I want to make sure that Mr. Wong understands that we do believe that when you make a zoning change, especially if it's large enough, it will have an impact on the community that it occurs on. And obviously, at this particular time, the answer from most of the agents that the developer has is that they don't really know yet what they're going to do, and without the zoning, they can't move forward.
Yeah.
So you end up with the chicken or the egg theory here that applies a little bit. We certainly like to know more about it because we don't like, I particularly don't like speculative zoning, which is what happens when we just simply change the zoning of an area without knowing what's going to happen in it. This is large enough to kind of beg the question, okay, what does the developer have plans for in there? It's not that large in that it would change the whole makeup of the neighborhood, but it can have an impact on the quality of life there. So there is a concern. I hope you ask the questions, and I hope Mr. Garcia or the agent or the owner are here to sort of answer why they want this major amendment. I know they want the zoning, but what do they want the zoning for? At least publicly state we want it for this. So essentially, I think I go back to what was said by both Supervisor Pancratz and Supervisor Simmons, that this is not the end of the process, this is the beginning of the process. I'm sure that when we consider whatever is going to happen there, we will be considering what impact it has on the lives of the people around it at the time it comes up. And I hope it will come up, because it can't. I mean, zoning itself doesn't make anything happen. There's still a permitting process, there's still a process where they come in front of us and we have the opportunity to somewhat limit what the impact is going to be. I know that we have items in there that are going to talk about climate change and things that get a little controversial a bit, but this one isn't one of them. This one is one of them that is large enough to have an impact and small enough so that we can actually mitigate the impact if it so happens to be that kind of use, the worst case scenario.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. Maggie.
Right, yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that this is, what is before you today is a major amendment. So any concerns about specific uses or zoning will come up during the rezoning phase of it. The applicant has not specified whether they'll be requesting C2 zoning. They may, we're assuming that they will apply for C2 zoning, but they have not come forward with a rezoning request. They may decide to come forward with a rezoning request to C1 and then apply for a special use permit for a gas station. So I just wanted to remind you that this is the action on the major amendment to change the land use designation, not the zone change.
Thank you, Maggie.
And Arturo Garcia is not here, the representative for this group.
Chair, no, he's not present. He was informed of the meeting, but he's not here. He's a very active engineer.
Thank you.
All right.
That's the will of the board.
Well, it's like I said, this is.
Wait, I'm gonna close the public hearing. And now. Darren?
Like I said, this is the first step. We've still got a long way to go, and we still have some control of. Right now, I want to make a motion to approve Major Amendment 23-04 as presented.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
4-1, motion carries. Thank you very much. We will go to Major Amendment Case 2307, item number 3.
Thank you, Madam Chairman Lines. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting Mayor Amendment Case 2307. This is a request to change the land use designation of a parcel 30.61 gross acres in size from agricultural rural preservation to industrial, located in the Andong Valley Welton Planning Area, approximately 770 feet north of the intersection of Antelope Drive and Avenue 36C in Welton, Arizona. The intent is to accommodate the rezoning of the 30.61 acres from RE40 to heavy industrial in order to establish a regional transportation hub truck rail. This is the land use in the city map showing the subject parcel, cross-hatching outline in yellow. Properties access from the south along Avenue 36E as a public, right-of-way dedication, so that will be the access that has right now. Land uses on the portion of the east, north, and west is agricultural rural preservation. We have some rural residential densities, and on the south is the location of the subdivision, the residential location, and the land use for that area is also agriculture rural preservation. We have low-density residential land use to the southeast and more agricultural rural residential to north of that area of the Antelope Heights subdivision. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. It's proposing access from what is called Roll Road on the site plan. This is an resolution, the subject parcel outlined in red. There's showing the residential developments on the south and southeast. This is you looking west as a subject parcel from what could be the road. This is you looking south from within the subject parcel, looking south to the residential area. Now looking north from within the subject parcel, looking north. And so you're looking northeast at the railroad tracks. Staff received 10 letters and 1 petition signed by 118 residents in opposition of this request. We also received comments from Welton Irrigation District and the Audubon Society. The Planning Commission recommends denial of the amendment case number 23-7. Staff concurs with that recommendation based on the following. The proposed use is incompatible with existing residential uses in the area. The proposed amendment is not consistent with the overall intent and specific policies of the plan. The proposed amendment is not considered an overall improvement to the plan and is solely for the good or benefit of this property owner. And number 4, the amendment does not address an oversight, inconsistency, or other land use related inequity. That concludes staff's presentation, and applicant is present, and if the board has any questions for staff.
Thank you very much, Javier. Would the applicant like to address the board?
Hi, Catherine Mulcairn, 3712 East Pinchot Avenue, Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so I realize there's quite a bit of opposition on this, and I understandably, and as stated previously in some other ones, this is just the initial ability and opportunity to go up for rezoning. There's a lot of things that have to happen in order for this to be built. Early on, I met with you, Jonathan, about a year ago. Darren, we've been speaking about this too. I'm very transparent about the things that I want to do, how I want to go about it. Starting this about 3.5 years ago, there's no surprises that I'm really trying to do here. The intention for what it's going to be can't be defined because there's no official end user. We have to go through rezoning. There's setbacks. There's all the things in which I have to do within guidelines for it to make this happen. So I want to take a step back and just refocus on the fact that this is an opportunity to even have and amenitize a rail line that's been there forever, prior to housing and all of that. And there's another project that is very similar. It seems like it's been contrasted of this one or that one, where it doesn't mean that both can't play off of each other. And so the opportunity to have businesses come, giving the county the opportunity to have two businesses, two projects, letting the market decide, as opposed to just shutting down one or the other that are so similar. It does not mean that Wellton can't be known for only having one port or one trucking or one rail. If the rail's there, property on rail is extremely rare. Just because a parcel has rail next to it does not mean that every parcel can be rail served. And so there's a little bit of a misconception. And having my rail spur approved and the next step to kind of start the engineering of that based on the end user, we're there. We're at 30% design with Union Pacific, and they have been supportive since day one of this. So I think it's really important that just, instead of it being this one or that one, it's as a beneficial community project as a whole, and mitigating other risks as the process goes on. The hazardous concern was we had master planned a few opportunities. It wasn't definitively saying we're going to do this, we're going to bring in this. When I went up for my project, with pre-planning and zoning, they just had said this, and this. Originally, they didn't go up for C2. The reason I had proposed all of this stuff under the project was because I didn't want to have any surprises. Right? I wanted to have the ability that I said this and that it wasn't on the record that, oh, hey, I wanted to put in a gas station. Well, you didn't state that prior. I wanted to be as transparent as possible from the get-go. And even holding a meeting prior to public comment, invited everybody that lived in the area to ask and state, what is it that you'd like to see? How can this benefit? And asking them their opinion. Because I just don't want anybody to think that I am coming in and building something and a lot of developers make promises that we can't exactly uphold. And I don't believe that I've promised a lot of things. It's all just growing speculative based on a lot of steps that have to happen. So yeah, just today I would like to have you guys consider that instead of having one or the other, they are so similar. They are close in proximity, and it allows Walton to really open up this rail and be known for a lot of things. Because outside of this, let's say we keep it at RE40, how far along the line do we wait to then just be able to build housing, right? Building residential requires having jobs and opportunity. And so I think it would be a waste of the opportunity of the property to not utilize a resource that has been there and it should be intended to be used. So yes, I just asked today that you guys think about the opportunity and the future of what Wellton could be and what the community could benefit from a grand economic.
Thank you, Catherine. Board have any questions?
There are some things with projects that have to take place that I know can't take place until the major amendment has been approved and the zoning has been changed. But this one, because it's so close to residential, presents certain challenges. As a supervisor, one always likes to think that we make those changes that we make because we think that gives the developer an opportunity to develop something that is going to work for them. But we are always tasked with the fact that the location's always important to us, especially if it means that it's going to be, especially a railroad next to somebody's backyard. It's really difficult to see how we separate that even from the beginning, because we should be intervening in which project gets done. That's not the intent. But at the same time, I think we need to take a look at the parameters of where this is happening to see how it impacts in the area that is going to be done. So it's a tough decision, but one that probably requires that we sort of have have a little more faith in the fact that a developer would know what to do when they get to zoning, but that's a little difficult to do in situations where you already have a project ongoing that's going to basically do the same thing, just in a more organized way, with, that is a little further along in that way. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and hear.
A question. So let's just say this doesn't get built. What is it that you think would be best fitting for this parcel that could essentially provide equal jobs, benefits outside of just housing? Like what is another economically sustainable form of business that can help the community that would tie in?
Well, I'll tell you what, we don't go that far. As a supervisor, I think we don't get to go that far. We get to listen to what people think they're gonna do, and then we get to make a decision based on whether we think that's a good fit for the area. So this is kind of the opposite of what happened before, which is you don't know what you're gonna do. In this case, you know what you want to do. You figure this is the use that you want to give the land. So it makes it easier to make a decision, but at the same time, it's tougher when you know that your decision implies that you're going to be investing a lot of effort and time and doing something that eventually we may not agree to. So it's really difficult to, it's like feeding the baby, right? We don't get to that point where it's not in my backyard type of situation that always happens when you try to wait the opportunities that may happen with the fact that there is people there already. So I do get a sense that sometimes when you go and ask people to do something, especially, for example, the water users, they'll tell you, well, we were there first. So why are you complaining now? Didn't you know when you went to live there was a canal next to you? You get to deal with those things when you've been around a long time like I have been. So you try to be a little more, not so much reactive as preventive of those things. At the same time that you don't want to have a developer, in this particular case, someone that has a plan, not develop it because you're not allowing them to get that far. It's a difficult thing to do, and so maybe I just wanted to get that out to feel a little better. Whatever decision is made, whether the residents are going to have a problem or the developer's not going to be able to go forward, still a very important decision that needs to be made. And we just wanted to.
Opportunity or not? Again, because there's a lot of things that can happen, and having two, it kind of shuts off. A lot of things can happen.
Yeah, I know. It's the kind of opportunity we're talking about. It's not the opportunity to do something. I think that's set to the private sector. I mean, if you want to build RVs or you want to build houses in there, I think it just sort of fits with. That's what the staff is tasked with, making the project sort of fit the environment that it's in. I know there's a railroad track in there, and I know that living next to a railroad track must be something. I haven't experienced it, but it must be something a little disturbing at times. But I guess you get used to it. But I don't know about a rail transfer area or whatever it looks like you want to do there. I don't know whether that's going to be that compatible with the neighborhood. That's basically it, and we'll get to it. I'm just I think I'm over explaining it. But thank you for your presentation, though. It's been eye-opening.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come back to the board. Actually, I apologize. I need to open up the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on this item at this time?
Hello, good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Michelle Jones. I live at 11822 Cortez Street in Welton, Arizona. And she just mentioned that these projects are similar. They're not similar to the previous one and this one. As you look, hers is only 30 acres, and the other people have about 339 acres, which is a lot more usable area. I feel it's important for us to follow our general plan, and I know that Yuma County has a general plan, and like Mr. Reyes is saying, it's not consistent with what's in the area with houses, churches, and schools. And mind you, that there is a school bus stop along that Avenue 36E right there next to those houses with children. And the previous letter that she read before the meeting, I didn't even think about it. There is kids being abducted, and if you do put a hub in there, could you imagine how many truckers pass through there and swing by and pick up one of those poor kids standing on the side waiting for a school bus or being dropped off? I mean, I didn't even think about that, so I appreciate that letter that came in. That was kind of scary. So again, I'm against the rezoning. You know, I appreciate that she wants to bring some businesses, and yes, the Welton and Yuma County does need businesses to come to our area for some tax revenue. It's just, it's not the great location with the houses and everything in the school already there. As you see, hopefully you read the multiple letters against it, opposing it. The Welton Mohawk Irrigation District did write also a letter, and their general comment was they just want to mention that there's only a 33-foot easement that is also used for their public utilities, so that's only leaving 18 foot for her ingress and egress. Her proposed entry right there, I believe, goes over Arizona state land. That's not, I don't know if you can just go over Arizona state land without having some kind of permission. And then in his pictures, if you did notice, looking to the west and then looking on the rail line, it is a huge, it's up really high. So there's a lot of leveling that would have to be done and a lot of dirt moving to bring it down to where the rail line is.
I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even see the railroad. I mean, that's the huge dirt pile that would all have to be moved out. And then, of course, that would also interfere with the houses.
And
not
those rails aren't used.
Yeah, and the rails aren't used, you know, but Mr. Kilman did say that they're working on getting them in, and I understand it's important. It's just not a great location, you know, move it on down the line somewhere, maybe with not around some houses. So I just believe that we should just stay consistent with our general plan, and I believe your general plan is to kind of keep that more of a housing area. Industrial needs to be an industrial, and houses needs to be with houses, and churches and schools. You know, keep it a safe community for the town of Welton, I ask you. Please, thank you.
Any additional public comments? All right, I'll close the hearing. Come back to the board.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to move to deny case number 2307.
Okay, before I second, I want to explain something real quick, though. Ms. Mulkern, I attended several of your meetings. The community is not against what you're wanting to do. Your location just, it doesn't work with the residential. The access points are in a bad area. That area has, excuse me, has a very low valley through there, and with the traffic that already transits through that area with the harvesting and everything else, now you're wanting to throw more into it. It's just not a good area for any heavy industrial or industrial whatsoever. Like I said, the community has told you from the beginning they're not against what you're wanting to do. It's location. So with that, I'll second the motion to deny the major amendment case on 2307.
All right, I'll call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Martine?
He's not running.
He's not there. Any opposed?
Lost it.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5, major amendment case 23-06.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, the Vice Chairman, Lyons, and Board of Supervisors. Jesus Carrillos, Senior Planner, presenting Major Amendment Case 2306. Mr. and Mrs. Lopez are requesting to change the land use designation of a parcel 4.02 gross acres in size from agricultural industrial to rural density residential. Property is located in the Yuma Mesa Plan area at the northeast corner of County 16th Street and Valencia Avenue, Somerton, Arizona. And the intent is to accommodate the rezone of the subject property from rural area 10 acres minimum to suburban ranch 2 acres minimum. This is the land use map showing the subject property with the cross markings in the center. Property is surrounded by agricultural industrial, and portion to the south is rural density residential. This is the SAPN that was submitted by the applicants. The intent is to split the property in two. This is the aerial view of the subject property. This is a picture view looking northeast at the subject property from County 16 and Valencia Avenue. And this is the picture looking southeast of the subject property from Valencia Avenue. Received comments from NCIS. They're in opposition, as well from Yuma County Airport Authority. They're in opposition. Also received comment from Alpidon Society. The Planning Commission recommends denial based on the proposed change is not compatible with the adjoining land use designation from north, west, and east. The amendment is only for the good or benefit of this particular landowner. And number 3, the amendment will not address the oversight and inconsistent in the plan. And Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff presentation, and the applicants are present.
Yeah, just like to address the board.
Good morning. Norma Lopez. I reside at 3550 West County 16th Street. And we've owned this particular land since 1975. We built our house. Can you move that back? One more, the site plan. There you go. Our house is on that designated corner. It's right there. Thank you. So the other two, Parcel A, Parcel B is what I'm requesting to split into 2 twos. It was originally, or it is, zoned agriculture, and I understand that because probably 100 years ago there was a lot of citrus there, Yuma Mesa citrus, and a lot of orchards. There is not anymore. On the other one more, where it shows all, okay. All of those are residences right around the property. All of those. They're either site-built or manufactured homes. And our 4 acres have been just like that for almost, 49 years. So...
you're surrounded.
I'm sorry, what?
I said you're surrounded.
I am, of houses, site-builts. So I respect that the zoning is agriculture, but there is no agriculture there anymore. There is no citrus trees. We just have one in our yard, but that's what I'm doing. I was approached by a couple that are interested in the north 2 acres. They want to grow alfalfa. They want to have their horses there, and eventually either bring in a manufactured home or a site-built home. So while I respect the zoning that it is now, it's really archaic to the area. It doesn't, there is no agriculture. It's desert land around it, so.
Thank you. Any discussion by the board members?
Yeah, you realize that what we're doing now, the major amendment process, only opens up the availability of a zoning. And you have to come back for the zoning, which is really what matters. I mean, I don't think you can move forward without the major amendment, but there's still a lot to be discussed. I'm a little surprised that the Planning and Zoning Commission said no to something that looks a little from afar, looks a little like the horses left the barn in that area. And those parcels aren't that small that you're talking about. So I'm a little surprised with the reaction, but maybe there's something in there I can't see now. But I know that the zoning matters are going to come in. So when the zoning comes in, I think we will, if we prove the major amendment, the zoning request will come in afterwards for what would it be? What zoning would it be if it's 2 acre? Because it's a 5 acre.
2 acre.
Yeah, excuse me, Norma.
Chairman, based on what the intended use is, they would have to request rezoning to SSB or SR or SH, suburban homestead, 2 acre.
2 acre.
Because it looks like they're planning on splitting the property into 2 lots of
Really?
2 acres in size.
So their property, the one that's in the corner, doesn't count for the addition. It's just the other side, right? And that would be split into 2, and the access points would have. Well, that's what I mean when I get to the zoning part. That's when you talk about access, when you talk about providing water to the site, those kind of things come into at that particular site. This is a major amendment to allow that to happen.
Supervisor Pankrazin?
Maggie, it's in the 70 decimals. Can you actually build on it?
Mr. Chairman, that is the reason why staff is recommending denial of this case. The property is in the 70 to 75 decibel noise zone. New residential development is not allowed in the noise zones. Additionally, all of the residential uses that are surrounding the subject property, both to the west, north, and south. These are lower density, but they are zoned for residential uses. Those were all established prior to the adoption of the 2030 comprehensive plan, even prior to the 2010 comprehensive plan back in 2001. So the intended use is contrary to state law because new residential development is not allowed. If this request is approved, the county would be subject to action by the Arizona Attorney General because residential development is not allowed in the noise zones.
So why would it even get to us if it's not allowed?
Mr. Chairman, we cannot forbid somebody from applying for an amendment or a zone change or anything. It's a risk that they take.
So it's not allowed.
Residential development is not allowed in the noise zones.
That makes it point moot, doesn't it?
Well, I know that there's people all around it, but if the encroachment on the base and the fact that the base is willing to take it to the Attorney General's office for a lawsuit.
Mr. Chairman, the property can in its current state can be used for agricultural purposes. If they wanted to raise horses or grow alfalfa on that property, that is allowed. They would not be able to build a home on the property. The property doesn't meet the size requirements for agricultural exemption. They need 5 contiguous commercial acres. However, they can use it for agricultural purposes.
Oh, they can use it for.
Yes.
Well, there's no irrigation out there, though, so they'd have to sink a well.
Well, they could try to rezone to a different zoning district if they wanted a different use, an industrial zoning district. But it cannot be used for residential purposes.
Thank you, Maggie. This time we'll open up the public hearing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
There is water right across the street from the property. The city of Somerton has their wells there, and there is water.
Is this within the city of Somerton limits?
No, that part is not.
Okay.
But I've lived there since 1976 with a well.
No, and it feels really tough, Norma, when you get to a point where the changes in zoning and the changes, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, this is one of those where you have so many houses surrounding it that the idea that you can't live there because the noise zones are not allowing it anymore, really, it's a matter of timing.
There was a house built across the street in 2021.
In the 70 decibel zone?
It's on the yellow side, I guess
Oh.
it's just above, but it's still the same area, the same noise.
It's
Yeah.
above the.
65, that's still allowed, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Open it up to public hearing. We have a comment card from MCAS, Mary Ellen or Antonio.
I don't know if we can figure out what you're going to say, but.
Yes. We still have for the boss, you know. Mary Ellen Finch, Community Liaison Officer, MCS Yuma, and I will let Antonio do the hard work here. I'm good for that.
Hi. Hi. Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair, Board of Supervisors. Antonio Martinez, representing Marine Corps Air Station Yuma. So yes, I mean, as you see, I mean, everything is recommended denial, but I just want to go a little bit deeper. So the property is fully located within the 70-75 decibel noise zone. It's also within the high noise accident potential zone, and it's about 0.4 miles south from an accident potential zone. I mean, the actual runway from 3 left, 0.4 miles. So all these 3 zones are adopted by ARS 2484-81, the ordinance, Yuma County ordinance, and the actual comprehensive plan. So these regulations all state that no new residential buildings or expansions of existing residential buildings are permitted. There are exceptions. Those exceptions, kind of like what you mentioned, is any building permits that were issued, it has a residence already constructed, or was approved for residential development prior to 31 December of 2004. So that's the reason we had all those residents right next to it, because they were all prior to the actual effective date. Any land that was zoned but the previous criteria was not met does not qualify for an exemption. So we are respectfully requesting kind of like the same thing as the staff and the plan and zoning are requesting as well from you. Any questions?
No questions, more like comments. But.
Thank you very much. Any additional comments from the public? I'll close the public hearing. The matter reverts back to the board.
Well, we need, there's always the issue of consistency with us here. I'm really sorry that we got to a point where we sort of have this area that's surrounded by houses not being able to actually go into 2 acres, which is not really that dense. It's not a matter of density. It's a matter of being able to use it and having it meet the new state regulations. And I know because we are a very legislative-driven board that we have to sort of follow the law. Otherwise, we expose the county to lawsuits. We expose the county to liability that essentially, by now, it's pretty clear. We have the attorney here that, you know, looks at us ugly when he doesn't say anything. But, you know, that leads me to the next one. We're sorry, Norma, but you sort of miss the time frames, you know, to be able to do what you want to do with the property. We normally go with the petitioner when we have a chance, but in this particular case, I don't think we have a chance. We have, you know, sort of a legislative duty to protect and an economic duty to protect the base. And we've always understood it, and we've always tried to be consistent with that. We try to be consistent. When there's a chance that somebody can do something, we tend to try to accommodate. In this particular case, I don't think there's any accommodation that we can make that doesn't go against the regulations or the law at some particular point. So I'm going to make a motion. We go ahead and deny the petition.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
There he is.
He said aye. Yeah.
Aye. I am.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, can we just clarify if that aye was for?
That's what I was about ready to do.
Well, that's because there's no discussion, so.
Chairman Porteous, is that a yes or a no?
No, this is a no. So when the motion is voted on in favor, it is voted in favor of no. Right?
Yeah.
Which is really sort of counterproductive.
Yeah, but his vote was
One more
so
second,
late.
one more second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 You missed it.
Aye.
Oh,
There we go. Any opposed? Motion carries. The matter is denied.
Sorry.
All right. Discussion regarding legislative issues. We'll turn the time over to Alejandro.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs for Yuma County. Wait for the presentation to show. My fault. I forgot.
No worries.
So I'll just read it. I handed you the
Yes.
the actual.
We have the handout.
We have a handout.
So I'll go with state proposition. There is a plan to renew Proposition 123, a 2016 initiative that increased funding for public schools from State Land Trust. The proposition. I'm sorry.
There it goes. Never mind. Go ahead.
Proposition providing over $300 million annually is set to expire in 2025, requiring voter approval in the 2024 ballot measure for the plan's continuation. If passed, a new teacher pay fund will be created, with lawmakers allocating a similar amount yearly from the state's general fund to prevent financial losses for schools. The proposal aims to raise teacher salaries by an average of $4,000, bringing the average pay to over $60,000 per year. The plan is part of an effort to address teacher retention challenges and make Arizona more competitive in attracting qualified educators. Now, on the workforce challenge, Arizona is undertaking an analysis of childcare availability. The study aims to identify gaps in childcare across the state, spanning various industries, to create a tailored plan to address the childcare needs of Arizona's present and future workforces. In addition, Governor Hobbs unveiled a third Future 48 Workforce Accelerator program in partnership with Maricopa County Community College, complementing existing programs in Yuma County and Kingman, City of Kingman. The Arizona House of Representatives held an ad hoc committee overseeing the Empowerment Scholarship Account program this past week. Goal of the committee is to provide clarity and ensure that the governance and administration of empowerment scholarship accounts is appropriately designed to manage a growing and complex program. Joint Legislative Budget Committee presented on K-12 finance issues related to student movement between systems. I've provided you a copy of the presentation for your review. Also, earlier this month, the Arizona Department of Water Resources distributed the Rural Groundwater Management Area Framework Proposal, consisting of key components to provide a starting point for further policy development. The Council will have a final meeting on November 29th to review policies that each committee will have finalized prior to this meeting. If approved, statutory details will require additional stakeholder and legislative involvement and negotiation. Moving on to the federal component of the presentation, Mr. Chairman, President Joe Biden signed a temporary spending bill on November 16, a day before a potential government shutdown. The measure passed the House and Senate by bipartisan margins last week, ensuring the government remains open until after the holiday season and potentially giving lawmakers more time to sort out their differences over government spending levels for the current budget year. Spending package keeps government funding at current levels for roughly 2 more months while a long-term package is negotiated. It splits the deadlines for passing full-year appropriations bills into 2 dates, January 19 of next year for some federal agencies, and then February 2nd for another set of agencies, creating 2 dates when there will be a risk for a partial government shutdown. The spending bill does not include the White House's nearly $106 billion request for wartime aid for Israel and Ukraine, nor does it provide humanitarian funding for Palestinians and other supplemental requests, including money for border security. Lastly, on the international front, President Joe Biden and Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador met last week in San Francisco for the annual Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference and pledged to work side by side to confront illicit fentanyl trafficking into the U.S. and to manage the growing number of migrants traveling north to the border between their nations. Mr. Chairman, that will conclude my presentation to the board.
Thank you, Alejandro. Any questions for Alejandro?
Alejandro, I know we try to stay away from all the immigration issues that are happening, but what's happening in Mexico, on the Mexican side, concerns me. That line of people waiting to apply for asylum is getting longer and longer and longer, and is now really deterring people walking back from Mexico to get to the port of entry. Is there any particular way we can reach out to the Mexican side and ask them to deal with that? I mean, obviously people think it's the United States policy to have all these people line up waiting. It's not. It's more a decision that's made in Mexico on how to handle those crowds. And the crowds are getting to a point that they're very difficult to handle. You have to walk around a lot of people that are intense. It's a situation that not only looks bad, but could be safety bad. Is there a way that we can send some sort of not directive, we don't give directives, but some sort of comment to the Mexican authorities that they need to start dealing with that?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, I will do my best to stay in contact with the city of San Luis Colorado and with the federal government of Mexico to address this issue.
That's it. I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. Now we will go to current events.
Oh, my.
Supervisor Pancras.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, Martine, tell us what you got.
Yeah, have Martine start.
Yeah, Martine, start. Tell us
Please.
what you got now.
Supervisor Pancras.
I was in the parade. I was in the parade for the Veterans Day,
You were 83.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I usually write everything down, and I didn't get to write everything down. So I'm afraid I can't give you all my. I met with the chamber, with Kimberly at the chamber. I went to the chamber transportation meeting. Let's see. I was at. I went to CSA and attended the Medium County Caucus and then the CSA board, and I met with some constituents, and we walked an area that is in dire need of help in my district, and that's it.
And Gail's not here. It's the first meeting she's missed in.
Well, that's who I was with, so yes.
Do a wellness check.
Let's do a wellness
We do.
check.
I need to check. I know.
This is
I
disconcerting.
Yes, I need to check with her.
Gail, your
She-
presence is missed.
Yeah.
Supervisor Simmons.
Let's see, attended Welton Mohawk Irrigation District Board meeting, participated in the Welton's Veterans Day Parade, spoke with a group from a local church, their Joy Group, which is just older youth, about issues going on around the county, Tri-Valley Ambulance benefit, Medium County Caucus and the CSA Board meeting, sit in on those. Met with several people, reference assorted issues. Met with Tim Dunn, reference to an issue out at El Rancho Encantado that's not going to go away soon. So hopefully I'm trying to get some help to get the Corporation Commission to pay attention to what's going on over there. I also spoke with Brian Fernandez, who's also reaching out to the Corporation Commission to talk to them. I haven't heard back, but they were supposed to meet on Friday. So,
Okay.
but other than that, that's it.
All right,
That's a
thank you.
lot.
Supervisor Reyes.
I went to the San Luis Founder's Day parade, which again
Yes.
is not allowing people to throw candy, which is
You did.
disregarded by me. I did not catch any fish. I wasn't the boat by myself. This is getting a little embarrassing now to show up on a boat and not catch anything or have a
Hi.
fishing rod with us. But thank you, Chair, for providing that vehicle. Otherwise, we would have had to walk.
Yes.
And so we went. So I also attended the Veterans Day parade, which
Yes,
was
you
great.
were, huh?
It was good. It was a good event. And I also sort of pushed off to Ian the attendance to the Greater Yuma Port Authority. I was taping a segment for I don't want to get too detailed with that, but we're taping a segment for housing, affordable housing. So I spent about 6 hours with a crew from Florida and LA taping a segment on affordable housing. So Ian went to that meeting, which I hear could turn into a little more uglier than I thought, but we will keep you informed about that later on. So that would be, I had a meeting with the Vision Group in San Luis, which we're talking about logistics and sort of, delve into a lot of the issues that we normally get to delve in when we talk about logistics at the border. But other than that, that was it.
Thank you very much. I met with several constituents specifically regarding several of our road projects. Had several conversations with Ian and lots of other meetings. And in the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and dispense and go to Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greater Yuma Port Authority, County Managers Association meeting, ASIP, YCBT, met with Judge Hawes. Continue with my departmental visits, which are individual meetings with different departments. This most recent period was Facilities Management, DDS, and Engineering. The YRMC Quality Hall of Fame Awards reception, which you saw in today's newspaper. Drug court graduation, and just a reminder that county offices will be closed this Thursday and Friday for the Thanksgiving holiday. Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving. And this meeting is adjourned.